What's up guys, Alex here from House of Bikes. Today we are unboxing and assembling the Intense Tazer MX e-bike. Let's get started. Attention. I hope everyone's paying attention. Alright, so when you first open the box, you get your nice little box here from Intense. It's got your torque wrench, it's got some manuals, it's got some tools as well. We already have the tools out, but everything you need is in here. We're going to set it aside for now. Alright, now in here you got your quick start guide. You also have your charger. We're going to set this aside as well. And now we can start removing the packaging that keeps the bike nice and protected during shipment. Once the packaging is out of the way, you can remove the wheels, just like so. And they also have packaging. This is your cassette cover. That was the rear wheel. Now comes the front wheel, which also has packaging. And we're going to set the front wheel aside as well. Alright, so the next step is we're going to take the handlebars out of the box. And we're just going to set it down like this. Okay. And now we're going to start undoing the packaging for the handlebar as well. Alright, so once you have the packaging off the handlebar, you can go ahead and take out the plastic here on the left side, which gives you access to your dropper post switch. So we're gonna press that in order to raise the dropper post, as the next step is going to be to put the bike on the stand. So don't be afraid when you grab the battery box out of the bigger box. This thing is really light. That's because the battery is already in the bike. So we're also going to put this to the side for now. Alright, so next step is we're going to remove the rest of the packaging here at the front of the bike. And we're going to rotate the stem. So you just loosen the pinch bolts. Alright, you put it pretty much as straight as you can for now. Don't worry about getting it perfect. We're going to do that later. Just going to give it another little turn on the headset to put it back about exactly where it was. And now that we've achieved this step, we're ready to put the handlebars on. I don't know why I say handlebars. It's just the one handlebar, but that's life. Sometimes you get your words all mixed up. So in order to do this step, you grab your 4mm Allen key and you loosen the nuts, or the bolts I should say, on the little cap here. And when you do this, you're going to notice there's a washer. You want to make sure that stays in place. There's a little plastic here that covers the center part of your handlebar. And it's even held in place by the display. So we're going to use a 3mm to loosen up the display just a little. Alright, so now you just rotate the bars, place them approximately in their final position. Again, don't worry about getting it perfect at this stage. We're going to do that a bit later. But once you have it, a good way to know actually is there's the Intense logo in the center of the handlebar. So just kind of put that in the center of your stem, both horizontally and vertically, and that'll be a pretty close location for its final resting spot. So this is those same 4 bolts. Just get them going with your finger first. I know you guys can't see exactly what I'm doing, but it's not rocket science. All we're doing is we're putting these bolts into the top cap. And we grab the 4mm. Again, we don't want to put this very tight just yet. We're going to find their final place later. And of course, we're going to torque them as well when we torque the whole bike. Alright, there we go. Let's show you guys the beauty of the Intense Tazer by removing more of the packaging. Probably should have done that earlier, but sometimes it's not a bad idea to keep the packaging on because it helps protect the bike while you're moving about. Alright, moving on to the rear of the bike. We can start taking out more of the packaging. So I just gotta unclip this little zip tie here that keeps the chain nice and tidy during shipping. Now we can remove this little carton to give us slack in the chain, and you want to gently pull this part down. What's nice is there's a plastic protector here that prevents you from scratching the frame when you get the lower part of the chain where it needs to go. And then the next step is to remove the packaging around the derailleur, which we're going to mount as soon as we get the bubble wrap out of the way. Alright, so this is your derailleur hanger, and what you want to do is line up the bolt of the derailleur, and just got to pay close attention. There's a little dog bone in the back of it. It's hard to see on camera, but there's a groove here on the derailleur hanger, and you want the dog bone to go just on top of it so that you're able to screw in your derailleur without like these two parts back here touching. It's a bit more obvious when you can see it, obviously. But otherwise it won't. Oh, actually that's a 5. Otherwise it won't even tighten, so kind of hard to get it wrong when you're looking at what you're doing. We're going to give that a final tighten later when we do all our torque specs. And so now the next step is to remove our rear axle bolt. This one is also a 5. Alright, so now as you can see there's some caps on the axle ends here of the rear wheel. Actually all the wheels have these caps. They're kind of annoying to get out, but just take your time, pry them out if you have to, which it seems like we have to. Alright, you want to make sure you take just the cap out and nothing else. And then the brake rotor has this cover. You just pull it out gently, and in this case we have this part. Don't know what it's called, but it's not supposed to stay in the cover. So when you remove the cover, you want to put this back on where it belongs. Alright, so moving to the rear of the bike. This is the tricky part that requires a little bit of coordination, so wish me luck here. But what we're going to do is put the rear wheel where it belongs. This is how you move the derailleur. Right, you can push this part down, and then you can use your index to pull this part up, which is what we're going to do with the wheel. So what we're going to do also is get the cassette over the bottom chain, or the bottom part of the chain, and under the top part of the chain onto the lowest cog. Alright, we're moving the derailleur out of the way, lining up the chain on that lowest cog there, which allows us to bring up the wheel. And one thing you should have done before is to remove the spacer in the rear brake caliper. There it is, out of the way. which gives us all the room we need to put the wheel in its proper position, allowing us to put the axle on. The axle goes on from the left side. This too has a torque value. We're going to deal with that later. So the rear wheel is on. Just going to give it a quick check here. Everything looks good. Everything's lined up. The gears shift nicely. Time to put the front wheel on. Again, we have a cap to deal with. I'm going to pull that out. And on the rotor side, we have another cap. Now we remove the front axle. This time we're not going to forget to remove the spacer out of the front brake caliper that keeps our pads separate. This is the spacer. Get that out of the way. And now we can put the wheel on. Alright, again, we're going to torque it properly later. This is more than good enough for now. And the next step here is to connect our two wires to the display. So the wire from the right side is going to go into slot number 2, counting from the left, into our Shimano display. There's a little tool that comes in the Intense box that you attach to the top of this wire here, which helps you push it into its slot. You can kind of do it just with your fingers, at least in terms of putting it in. For removal, it's probably best to use the tool. So for now, we're just gonna plug it into slot number 2. And when you hear that click, that means it's in there. Now you grab the wire from the left side and you plug it into slot number 1. Again, waiting to hear the click. And now we just rotate the display back to the position that makes it easy to read. And then once you find a good position for it, you tighten the number 3 screw again, like so. Cool. So we got the handlebar mounted, we got the wheels on, we got everything ready to put the bike on the ground and get a final positioning for our front end. So at this step, what we want to do is get our front wheel as centered as possible with the frame of the bike. So right now it's ever so slightly to the right. You can use your foot to nudge it. But the thing is these pinch bolts are now too tight to allow us to move the bars freely. So we're going to undo the pinch bolts a little. Now you can move the bar more freely. And that's pretty straight. You just kind of do it visually. Whichever technique you use should work as long as you get it straight. So also it helps to have the bars approximately in their final position. To do this, we're giving our cover here a few extra turns to stabilize the bar, because I think this is the final position now for the bar. And what we're going to do next is do our torque specs. So for this part, we're actually going to put the bike back up on the stand. So remember this box that we talked about earlier? In here you have your torque wrench. We already have a torque wrench out from the other bike we assembled, so I'm just going to use that and keep that box intact for its next owner. And in this torque wrench set, you've got all the bits you're going to need. Here we go. That's 9. And we're going to tighten this one here. 2 clicks. There we go. Now we're going to go on the other side of this axle, and we're actually going to go to 11 Newton meters. And actually on that side it's a number 5, and they give you the number 5 with a longer head, which you need to properly access. Alright, that one's all set. Now we're moving to the front wheel. The front wheel requires 7 Newton meters. There we go. We have 7 Newton meters there. Now we're going to move on to the handlebar. So, starting with these bolts here on the top cover, and we're going to tighten those to 5 Newton meters. There we go, that's 1. Just going across pattern here. So we're all set with the front cap, and we're actually all set with the bike on the stand. We're going to remove it off the stand now. Actually, before we do that, let's take the battery out. This is the battery cover. Take it out gently. Alright, so we got the keys for this particular bike. Now we insert it back in the slot, and immediately she twists, and you're able to pull the battery out ever so gently, like so. The strap is already attached, and this is how you get battery out of the bike. Now you'll see there's a little cap here which has a protection you need to cover the charge port of the battery. So if you want to charge the battery on the bike, that's how you would do it. The battery can stay in its cradle and you can charge it right here. We're going to remove it and charge it indoors. It's always a good idea to charge it indoors at room temperature. So, time to get the bike back on the ground again. So now we just want to triple check that our handlebar is straight in line with the fork. The front wheel is pointing perfectly straight. We are certain of that. So it is time to tighten our top cap here for the headset. We're going to do that with 3 Newton meters of torque. Right there, that is 3. To tighten our pinch bolts on the stem. There's 5 Newton meters. That's its final position. That's 5 Newton meters for both. At this point, you'll see the handlebar rotates freely without any rub. We got the bike all ready. The last step is going to be to put our pedals on. So the pedals come nicely sealed from the factory. We're actually going to keep them like this for the next owner, but one thing you might want to know is the pedals only go on their respective sides. So this is the right one. It says CR-R for right, and then the left one says CR-L for left, which means the right one goes here, and you're going to use a 15 mil wrench or a pedal wrench, and you're going to rotate the bolt for the pedal towards the front of the bike clockwise. On the left side of the bike, you're also going to rotate your pedal wrench towards the front of the bike. So it's going to be counterclockwise, right? So just to recap, right side pedal, clockwise rotation towards the front of the bike. The left side pedal is going to be a counterclockwise rotation also towards the front of the bike. I hope that's clear. And while the battery is charging, we're going to place our cap back on the bike. And then finally, we're going to put some air in the tires. Look at that, 29.9. So we're all set with the tire pressures now. Let's remove the final wrapper on this bike, which is all ready to go. Just needs the battery to get a full charge. Just need some pedals. And last but not least, and we're not going to do it on this video, but you want to adjust the suspension with the proper sag for your weight. That's for another day. But this is the Intense Tazer Carbon Enduro mountain bike. Really sweet bike. We have a huge selection of electric mountain bikes or e-bikes of all kinds, really, on our website, www.houseofbikes.com. Thanks for checking out this video, guys. Drop any comments down below, and we'll see you next time.